Hey guys, this is TW Wrestling Talk. First of all, I want to thank you for watching this episode of TW Wrestling Talk. I hope you stay tuned. This episode of TW Wrestling Talk discusses the June 25th episode of Raw. Featured Vicky Guerrero as general manager and Chris Jericho returning after a month from his suspension. First of all, in general, I'd say this edition of Raw was better than last week's. Overall, I'd say it was an average episode of Raw. It wasn't great, wasn't bad, but certainly it was better than what we saw last week. So without further ado, let's talk about how Raw opened the show with AJ, behind, AJ talking to herself in the mirror there, as the camera cycled along. We learned she was just talking to the mirror, which pretty much knew she it didn't seem like she was talking to anyone anyways. I don't know, my first impression while watching that was kind of just like, oh boy, this is how we're starting Raw. And we learned that they would have a three-way elimination match between Daniel Bryan, Kane, and CM Punk, which was decent up until the point, I think, where AJ came out and it made a distraction where Kane gets the GTS from Punk. He kind of gets it off rather easily, on Kane. He eliminates him, and then out of nowhere, Daniel Bryan comes back into the ring and he just gives a hard kick to CM Punk and pins him. It eliminates him and effectively wins the match, which I guess ultimately, solidified his spot to face CM Punk one-on-one, the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. Had Punk won, I don't know what kind of implications it would have, but theoretically, Daniel Bryan, winning that match, I guess gives him that match against CM Punk at Money in the Bank. But I mean, the match was pretty good, but I don't like how, every match is kind of determined by AJ, by whoever gets distracted by AJ. It seemed, SmackDown, the way the match went down between Daniel Bryan and Kane, it was a little different scenario there, but this time, it seems like once AJ came out, it's like things just get totally rushed, and, which kind of, to me, is reminiscent of, a couple weeks ago, I think, on Raw, where I think it was a tag match with I don't know, never mind that, but it seems like AJ gets involved and she distracts Kane and pins him, but then all Daniel Bryan really did then was give him a hard kick, which sure, it might have hurt, but that's normally that you never see a match end like that between those guys. It just seemed like they were rushing the outcome of the match, and that's how they did it. And it's something reminiscent of that. A few weeks ago, I think, on Raw, it might have been the one before No Way Out, where I think Kane ditched. Yeah, it was a tag team match, and Kane ditched. Kane just walked out of the ring, and CM Punk just did an elbow drop on the Daniel Bryan and ended it right there. It just seemed like another case with that, but this time it was Daniel Bryan just giving a hard kick to the back, whatever, CM Punk, and pinning him. A little disappointed with how that went down. A little disappointed in the direction that story went. Sometimes I feel like it's too much about, the whole love triangle thing and AJ, and I think it's sometimes too much about that and not enough about the WWE Championship. So, I guess we'll see what if anything. Well, if anything more related to that happens in SmackDown, and this later this week on SmackDown, and it's, if I'm not mistaken, AJ was saying they were gonna, they were talking about in a backstage segment later on the show, having a talk, with each other or whatever, and that never happened. Anyways, after AJ won that battle royal between the Divas, there was never really any talk related to any of that. So I don't know. I don't totally know if we were supposed to see something there and just didn't end up seeing it or what. But I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens on SmackDown and next week on Raw with that story. Hopefully something better. We had Big Show, as I did predict. Big Show kind of has a little rivalry going with Brodus Clay, I guess you could say, although it might kind of be over right now because Big Show basically obliterated Brodus Clay, and maybe he'll be off TV for a little or something. But I mentioned last week, on the discussing SmackDown, that he might have a little rivalry with Brodus Clay, but that ultimately I would think that with him being in the Money in the Bank match, it would just kind of just be that, a little rivalry with Brodus Clay, and that's kind of what basically what we saw tonight on Raw, just pretty much a squash match on Brodus Clay, and I like that they're still making the Big Show look good, which he's going to be in the Money in the Bank match, which leads me to now Cena and Chris Jericho. Now things are kind of intertwining again. Cena came out at the middle of the show, and he apparently leading up to that segment, they mentioned how Cena tweeted that he was going to have a history-making announcement tonight, and he came out to the ring, and he did this Star Wars he kind of recapped some things that have happened with him and Big Show and John Laurinaitis and Vince McMahon. He kind of recapped in a Star Wars kind of thing, which I'll give him that his early impression was pretty good sounding, but ultimately it just seems like Cena was just going a little too far, and it was a little over the top. And Chris Jericho came out and kind of called him out on this, and which I think him goofing around kind of as usual, and because Cena ultimately announced that he was going to participate, that he's putting himself in the Money in the Bank match for the first time in his career. So basically he puts himself in a match, which Big Show is also going to be put in. So the reason one of the reasons he wants to put himself in the match is because it's like he's got to stop Big Show, which came off to me to be a little silly, just the way, that part of it. And then because Cena also said that he didn't have the belt for almost a year, WWE Championship. I think I'm not. I mean, my estimate here might be a little off, but I think it's been more like 8 or 9 months since he had it. I mean, it went around that to a year, I guess, but there's, I think there's still 3/4 or so of a year there where, it should be shaved off of that. But, seems like yesterday he was champion anyways. But anyhow, he puts, he basically says he's going to be in the match, and Chris Jericho calls him out, not taking them, he's never been in one, and he's got to take, he's got to take the match seriously, and, not just think he's going to go in there and just win it just because he's John Cena. And I think that, the way Jericho kind of called Cena out on his goofing around and on his reasoning for entering, for wanting to be in the Money in the Bank match, I think I'd really like to see in the future maybe like a potential story maybe between him and Jericho or whatever, where Cena's something with the whole goofing around with John Cena, and if we could see maybe a more serious John Cena, the character refreshment. And there's times to be funny, but I mean, not long ago, last month there was the whole joking on John Laurinaitis and doing his Ace Ventura impressions, some called it, and now it's like this whole Star Wars thing, and it's overdoing it sometimes. It's really, for the neutral fan that I like, to consider myself to be come on, let's not overdo it here. I want to see some good, I don't just want to see comedy all the time out of WWE from the same people. I mean, some, as far as main event talent goes, and, people who are gunning for the WWE Championship or headlining pay-per-view after pay-per-view. Anyhow, so Chris Jericho also said that he was going to he was putting himself in the Money in the Bank match. So, at this point, I'm still wondering, I'm thinking there was going to be one Money in the Bank match, just because the way the brand split is somewhat out the window, as as everyone's said before, I'm sure. But yet when Daniel Bryan came out earlier, they labeled him as a SmackDown superstar, even though the past month plus he's basically been on Raw too, just as much involved on Raw, if not more involved on Raw. So I mean, there's still inconsistencies there with the brand extension, but I thought there was going to be one Money in the Bank match. This is where Vicky Guerrero comes into play, and she says how the WWE Championship Money in the Bank match was going to feature only former WWE champions. At this point, it was announced that it would be Kane, which basically pulls him out from the, whole Daniel Bryan, AJ and CM Punk thing, likely because also Kane's just said how he didn't really want anything more to do with AJ. But it seems like they're pulling him from that story, putting him in this Money in the Bank match. Big Show's going to be in it, Cena and Chris Jericho. Now, it seems like suddenly now, since they're going to have one for the WWE Championship, which I don't know why they just don't call the Raw Money in the Bank match, and then one for the World Heavyweight Championship match, for the World Heavyweight Championship, and why they don't just have that as a SmackDown Money in the Bank. They're going to have essentially what seems to be a fatal four-way ladder match. As far as I know, the Money in the Bank match, well, it used to be a 6-man ladder match, but it's been an 8-man ladder match for a long time now. That's how I know the Money in the Bank match. But it seems now it's going to be more of a fatal four-way thing, which is I guess partly due to the fact that they still insist on having 2 Money in the Bank matches, as they still have, you know, 2 world heavyweight or 2 world championships, but they're using less talent. I think it's kind of pushing, it's making me, you know, want to push the idea of you know, 1 world championship in WWE. That whole idea, which doesn't look like it's quite happening yet, but maybe sometime in the future. So it's, unless something changes, unless they add more people to it, which it doesn't seem like they're doing. It looks like the Money in the Bank matches this year are going to just be more like fatal four-way ladder matches. Which it kind of takes the whole idea of Money in the Bank, it kind of waters it down a little bit, and kind of just makes it more of a fatal four-way ladder match. But it's gonna feature 4 top guys, in Kane, Big Show, Chris Jericho, and John Cena. We're not quite sure about the other Money in the Bank match, which I'm sure we'll learn about soon, which I'm guessing will feature Dolph Ziggler, maybe Del Rio, there's 2 other guys maybe. But as far as the Raw one is concerned right now, it seems like the Money in the Bank match, it's, even though it's going to be a 4-man thing, it does kind of place more emphasis on the story surrounding it. Especially now with John Cena being in it, Kane, Big Show, and Chris Jericho, it's like the story is going to revolve more around it now. So that's a good thing about it. Because they're using less people, and the way that they're, the reasons that these guys want to be in the Money in the Bank match and all, it's kind of tying together. Kane's kind of seems he's being a little more thrown into it, but the former WWE champion, so that's why he's in it basically. And then Daniel Bryan, of course, well, he won last year, so it's appropriate to have him in a WWE Championship match against CM Punk anyhow. But it seems like they're wrapping a story around it more. At least we're in the in years past, the Money in the Bank match is kind of it's sometimes featured a couple main event guys, but it's never really been a match that's been built around main event guys. It's usually been a match to take mid-card talent or even upper mid-card talent and elevate them, essentially give them a World Championship match or a WWE Championship down the line. I'm thinking that they're going to do this with Ziggler. I'm thinking that the SmackDown one will be, well, I call it the SmackDown one. The World Heavyweight Championship one will be more used maybe for that purpose, even though it might only feature 4 guys. But as far as the WWE Championship one, it seems like it's gonna be used more for story, because it's being built around a story with Kane, but then more prominently Cena, Jericho, and Big Show. So I mean, it's a little interesting. It makes for what might be a different kind of Money in the Bank match. Big Show is only in 1, which I'm correcting myself. I wasn't totally sure if Big Show was in 1 before, they said he was. So yeah, I mean, he was only in 1 before. John Cena was never in 1. So at least they're using him in a different way than Money in the Bank. Chris Jericho's been in 3, but he hasn't. And they say how he pioneered ladder matches, but he didn't win any in his 3 times being in 1. And then Kane again, he's kind of just got thrown into the match, but so you wouldn't expect to see. I'd say he's the least likely to win it. But learning that these these four guys are going to be in the match, I would say I'm hoping either Jericho or Big Show wins. Jericho, because he's, like they said, he's been in 3. He hasn't won any. This is going to be his 4th one. As far as this Money in the Bank match goes, I don't, as far as building a new star with this match, the idea kind of seems out the window. So, these guys are all, the average age of these guys, the guys in this match is, probably near 40. So, I mean, that the whole argument with building a new star is out the window. So having said that, with this match, Chris Jericho winning, I think, would be appropriate. He's probably, he's kind of near the end of his career. He doesn't have a whole lot left to really do, but hey, why not kind of, help top his career off at this stage with him winning the Money in the Bank match? Maybe having another run with the WWE Championship. Who knows? We'll see. Big Show, another. They've been building him up. They kind of let me down a little bit with how they used him at No Way Out, had him lose. But of course, they're saying how it took 5 men or whatever for him to lose. So, but with the momentum, I think he could have a great. I like his heel run as of late. I'm thinking he can make a good, a good WWE champion down, sort of down, not far down the road. If CM Punk's still, if he stays WWE champion, then Big, maybe Big Show and him could have a good feud or something with Big Show, if he cashed in. I don't know. Cena, well, like they said, Cena has never been in a Money in the Bank match. I hope he doesn't win. Let's put it that way. Not because it would just make him WWE champion, all over again. That's the reason why. I mean, I'd like to see his character be refreshed one way or another before he becomes WWE champion again. But like they said, if Cena wins the Money in the Bank briefcase in his first Money in the Bank match, and then here Chris Jericho's 0 for 4, I just don't, Chris Jericho's like the guy that pioneered ladder matches, they say. I just don't, that wouldn't settle well with me. And it would, kind of kill more momentum off Big Show. So, I mean, I'm hoping it's either Big Show or Jericho. One or the other there. Kane, I mean, Kane, I wouldn't mind seeing him win, but I don't see the point of really having him win right now. I don't, it seems like him being in this Money in the Bank match has the least amount of purpose behind it. But I mean, if Kane would be a surprise winner, I mean, who would know there? But I'm thinking that out of this Money in the Bank match, there will be some kind of a feud between these guys. Maybe Cena and Big Show will have another match at SummerSlam. Maybe this will evolve into a Cena Jericho feud heading into SummerSlam, or I don't know, depending how Chris Jericho goes back to touring with Fozzy or whatever. Kane, as far as Kane goes, I mean, Kane seems to do some jobbing, then he gets in a story, then he seems to do a little more jobbing, and then he gets into a story. At least since he's come back, that kind of seems how things are with Kane. So I mean, I'm not totally sure that what would come out of him Money in the Bank. But we'll see what else. We'll see what else happens in the coming weeks. You know, it's as simple as that. There's still a few more episodes of Raw until Money in the Bank. So, you know, we'll see what else happens with that story. I'm kind of saying all I can really say right now about that. Also, I want to mention they had a contract on a pole match with Dolph Ziggler and Alberto Del Rio. That sounded, you know, on paper that kind of sounds like a unique way, unique match to set up a World Heavyweight Championship match on SmackDown later this week. And you know, it was a little, I don't know. When the contract, the clipboard, the contract and the clipboard fell off the pole and onto the mat, you know, it started to look a little silly how, neither of them could pick it up and gain control of it. It just, and then, but what was worse, Sheamus came out and then, announced that it was just going to be a triple threat match anyways on SmackDown, which basically rendered the match pointless and basically just declared the match, it's over. Was there even a point to doing that? I mean, we know things are predetermined in, the WWE, but let's not make things look predetermined at least. They have a match, and then it's like Alberto Del Rio comes out anyways and announces that it's going to be a triple threat match. Kind of just made it like, oh well, this is how it was going to be anyways. Why would they have a match if a few minutes later someone was going to announce it, or the champion himself was going to announce that, well, this match is basically pointless because it's going to be a triple threat match in SmackDown. You wonder, like, if this was, like, if it wasn't a predetermined outcome, you'd wonder, like, oh, did they just tell them, did the board of directors just decide suddenly, or Vicky Guerrero decide, you know what, we're going to make this a triple threat match, screw it, go out there and tell the guys, even though they're in the middle of their match, they can't seem to pick up the clipboard off the floor. Now they're on the other side of the ring. Let's just make it a triple threat match. Go ahead, Sheamus, go tell them. It just kind of came off stupid and made the match kind of pointless. Anyways, so but as far as the triple threat match goes, at least having Del Rio in the mix does prevent us from seeing yet another Ziggler-Sheamus match, too soon, because we have seen a lot of that lately, but, we don't want to keep seeing the same thing. I would think that Sheamus will win this match, and, because I think Ziggler will be in the Money in the Bank match, Del Rio might be too, and, I think Dolph Ziggler might win that. We'll see who else is in it, but I think that's what WWE might be setting up for us. Sheamus, I think Sheamus, Del Rio, and Ziggler, the idea behind this match was kind of to mix it up a little more, and it might be all right. I'm not a big fan of Del Rio, but it mixes it up a little more. So I'm all for that. Other than that, that's basically, we had a kind of pointless United States Championship match that, didn't really do anything for the title at all as far as making it, relevant. And we heard that next week, Brock Lesnar is going to be in the house on Raw. He's going to talk. I guess he's going to talk about the challenge. He's going to answer to Triple H, I guess, about the challenge. I guess that means we'll see Triple H there. Maybe we'll see Paul Heyman, or maybe we'll see Heyman and Lesnar, together coming out. bottom line, we're going to see Brock Lesnar. Looking forward to that. See if things might get personal. See if Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar, bring in, the business, the whole business aspect of this story. The whole thing with Lesnar being owed millions, or maybe this match will have stipulation that if Lesnar wins, gets paid all this money, he gets, Heyman gets power, him and Heyman get power, something like that. It should be interesting to see, and I look forward to that next week, and hopefully they do a good, because let's not forget, Heyman got knocked out by Triple H last week on Raw. So you would, and Heyman was saying how we'll run this joint if you punch me or whatever. So hopefully that rings true. Hopefully they do try to make some moves with that, and just make this SummerSlam match not only a good personal war between Triple H and Brock Lesnar, but also on the business aspect of it, the power aspect of it. Hopefully they follow up with that too. Looking forward to that. That'll do it for this edition of TW Wrestling Talk. I encourage you to subscribe and stay tuned. We'll try to cover SmackDown. Put that up as soon as we can later this week. As we keep moving along here, kind of going back and forth between different ideas here and stories. That's what they got going on SmackDown and Raw. That's all I got. So stay tuned. Please subscribe, and thanks for watching as usual.